seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. It's the T.N.F, the Thursday Night Forum. We are back, and tonight is the night we give the viewers the keys to the bus, and you can get all your talking points in to myself. And tonight it is Johnny Logue who joins me. Johnny, what's happening?
Boss. You all right? I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm good. All good.
Top man, mate. Welcome aboard the Bhoycie bus. We've had 2 nights off because of the stupid international break, which I'm already bold of. I know we won last night, and I'm all happy in that briefly, but then I might see the next day. I'm like, oh, fuck's sake, we've got another 2 of those to go, and it's like, just give me the Celtic, eh? That's all I'm wanting to watch. Anyway, good to have so many of you on the bus already this Thursday. I know it is a bit of a slower week in terms of Celtic news and all that sort of stuff, but a couple of talking points I'm sure we'll find. And then, as I say, looking to find out what you guys are wanting to put to us as well. Whilst you're there, though, all 30 odd of you already in the first couple of minutes, do remember to hit that like button, hit share, hit subscribe. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, it's totally optional. It's up to you. It costs the same as a Patreon, $1.99 a month. And it's completely optional because all the content remains free. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Isn't that right, Phil McGinley? Love that part. Love it. Anyway, yes, we will get stuck into it because it's been a bit shit not having the bus the last couple of nights, being able to pull in, pick up the passengers, drop them off, tell them that it's been another glorious time in Celtic land. It's on the back of a defeat. We've got to go through this sort of morbid stuff. And do you know what, Johnny? That just doesn't wash well with me. It's been a few days now. Scotland have now played. We've seen some of our other Celtic players in international action since now. That disaster at St Mirren Park or fucking whatever it's called now. I don't even know. Alton Towers Park or something. I don't know what it's called now, man. It's got that many sponsors, on it. But the dust is settled now. Have we got a bit of perspective now? I think it's okay to hurt, Johnny. It's not all about what we do going forward, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, let's face it, we're not used to doing talking about a Celtic domestic defeat on the bus, are we? It's the first time, isn't it? Yeah. So
first league defeat. First league defeat.
Yeah, league defeat. Yeah. So we can. I think we can live with that. We don't have to be happy about it. But let's face it, we survived a worse start last season than we've had this season. So hopefully, Angela have had a look at things over from Sunday and realised, I fucked up there. And
Aye.
let's sort it out.
Well, definitely, mate. Definitely. I agree with that. I mean, obviously, Big Ange is in Australia. We'll talk about that a wee bit. Obviously, they're trying to build up the hype over there and send the big man over. I can't think of a better cheerleader for to promote tickets in Australia than Ange Postecoglou. I think he'll end up fucking president or prime minister over there. It's prime minister, isn't it, in Australia? It wouldn't surprise me, man. They're as mad for him as we all are. So, aye, fair enough. Sending him over there now, but yeah, a lot of players on international duty right now, and sometimes you can feel that the international breaks came at the wrong time. And I think that's how we felt. We were like, just get them back out there. You know what I mean? Because the form had been so good domestically that it would have been brilliant if we could have just got back out and remedied what was just a fucking unfathomable this performance. It was just a display that I just didn't see coming down the road at all. I don't know where it's came from. Despite the team selection, which we've went through numerous times on the bus now, we don't need to dwell on that. Even despite that, if I'm being honest, I still thought we had enough in the tank to win that game, and certainly not put in a performance like we did. But I just wonder if maybe you look at the schedule and you go, it was easier to begin with, and then they had to play a couple of midweek games where the bar was just raised dramatically. Suddenly record away wins at Tannadice seem a far cry when you're dominating a team also in a similar sort of coloured kit, dominating them, and you can only get one goal, i.e. Shakhtar Donetsk, and then they punish you with one opportunity. Do you know what I mean? In the second half, and you start going, these sort of levels and these gears that Celtic have had to go through in those matches is maybe just sort of brought them back down to earth a wee bit. And I don't know. I just think maybe the international break, just a wee respite from it all, come back in, ready to go at it again. It might not be the worst thing in the world, Johnny.
No, it's not. Probably not the worst thing. I think the word complacency was thrown about quite a lot on Sunday, not from just from the players, but I think us as supporters probably got a little bit complacent, just expecting wins, because that's what we do as Celtic supporters. It's nothing new. We always have done. We've always expected most of the time we expect our team to win. But it's got to be said, I think that's despite last season's start where we lost the first 3 home games, whatever it was. That was definitely on Sunday was the worst performance that we put in under Ange Postecoglou domestically. I know I didn't actually see the Bodo Glimt game in Norway, but they tell me that was an absolute shit show as well. But
it was.
But domestically, that game on Sunday was nobody's seen it coming. It was the worst performance we've put in under Ange domestically, without a doubt. I think anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think one of these things, one of the things as well. I mean, when you're going to make all those changes, or if there has been a little bit of complacency crept in, sometimes a wee spanked arse might not go, might not do them any harm. I think sometimes just a wee reality check, a wee bump in the road, and it might just be a wee wake up call as well that, nothing's done yet. It's very early days, and I'm sure none more so than Ange Postecoglou was driving that point home, Johnny. Let's be completely honest. I'm sure he wasn't impressed with what he'd seen. I think the number of changes that he made at halftime, etc., as well, undeniably allude to the fact that he was not impressed with what he was seeing. I think his post-match comments as well, he was balanced. He was harsh on the team when he needed to be. He wasn't over the top either, which seems to be what everyone loves right now. Just be a wee bit in the middle. Everyone's got to be like, I don't mind someone losing their temper every now and then. I think it's refreshing. But anyway, all that said and done, the league table was still top of. I think you could look at this international break, Johnny, as that's like the first quarter. Do you know what I mean? I know it's a wee bit early for the October holidays. That's the first quarter of the league campaign. We were so close to having, a big gold star because we'd completed that 100% record. We didn't quite manage that, but at the same time, I still think 2 points clear, and we've gubbed our rivals in the midst of that as well. As much as they will be delighted they clawed it back to 2 points and will say that win was made redundant, I don't think so. I think there's mental scars that you can leave from big derby wins, and we got one of them job done in that first quarter, if we call it that, for talking's sake. This time last year, we'd had 3 defeats by now, we were sitting at, what have we played now in the league? 8 games, 7 wins? Someone could correct
something like that. I'm not sure exactly. Yeah,
I think it's 8 games, 7 wins. Last year we were 7 games, 3 wins, 1 draw. So I mean, there's a marked sign of improvement. If we can go 38 games unbeaten on the back of that, then fuck me. Do you know what I mean? Like, how long a run can this team go on now you know, knowing what we now know about them, knowing how much we've improved since then, what sort of run can we go on now? I think it would be very interesting to see. And do you know what? The thing is as well, Postecoglou undeniably isn't above getting criticised. And I'm never going to shy away when I think someone should be criticised. Not criticised for criticism's sake, but also I think, you know, after a few days, I'm kind of like, you take a step back and you go, yeah, okay, 38 games unbeaten. That's the equivalent of a full league season. 364 days, a lot of people were saying as well, if they want to cling to it like that, which is absolutely fine. That sort of a record deserves applauded when it comes to an end as well. And there has to be a bit of recognition for what that actually entailed, because what that entailed was turning around a points deficit of 6-7 points, winning the league. By the end, I felt relatively comfortably. And that all happened during that 38-game unbeaten run. So go on something like that again, Celtic, and we'll all be smiling come May. So, yeah, there's no point in pushing the panic button. It's gone now. We need to just dust ourselves off. And maybe the international break will see, you know, the players coming back with a fresh set of eyes on everything as well. And maybe they'll be quite glad of the respite from the let's be honest, the day in, day out goldfish bowl that is Celtic Football Club, Johnny, because it is difficult when you're there. I mean, obviously, you know, I'm not going to feel sorry for guys on £15,000-20,000 a week, but at the same time, everything they do is under a magnifying glass. Every touch they make is scrutinised. There's now, you know, there's dedicated phone and radio shows, you know, two in Scotland, two in Glasgow even, you know, like that are national, like, and have loads of viewers. How many Celtic podcasts are there? How many Scottish football podcasts are there? It's wild when you think about how many newspapers there are, sports websites, blogs. I mean, the amount of scrutiny they're under here. Sometimes I think maybe this wee 2-week thing for a guy in his early 20s might not be the worst thing. Do you know what I mean? Maybe when you consider all that, you go, they might be quite glad of their wee break.
Yeah, a couple of things to think about there. When you think, if you looked at the start of the season, the fixtures for the start of the season up to now, and said to us, "You'll be 2 points clear at the top of the league," we'd have probably took that. The fact that we were 5 points clear, and we should have still been 5 points clear, but we fucked it up on Sunday, takes the shine off it a little bit. But if they said to me back in the first day of the season, when you come to the international break for you play the Ukraine and Ireland, you'll be 2 points clear. I'll say, yeah, I'll take that. And also the other thing is, we didn't see this defeat coming on the 38-game run ending on Sunday. Just like when Rodgers, was it 50, however many games it was, when Hearts done us 4-0 at Tynecastle, we didn't see that one coming either, did we? So it's going to happen. It has to happen sooner or later, you know, and Hearts gave us a right, you know, it was bad enough getting beat by St Mirren on Sunday, but Hearts gave us a right doing that day. Well, it was a 17-year-old kid scoring against us and whatnot. But, you know, it has to end sometime, you know. All good things come to an end in that, Bhoycie, like. But I think overall we've got to be quite happy with the way the season's gone so far. And just, like I say, get back on the horse and sort it out.
Fucking right, mate.
I'm quite confident he will do. Get that sort of what we would consider our strongest 11 back on the park. We've maybe found out we might not have quite the one-for-one, you know, direct replacements for every position yet, or at least combinations. But we're heading in that direction. You know, I'm quite sure we'll sort things out without being overly blasé about it. You know, get the strongest players out, get the guys on the park who win the games for you, and then bring in the subs, which is what we should have done on Sunday. But
you know, you're right, Johnny. You're right. I mean, the thing is with the squad depth, again, is it also fair though when they've not been starting as regularly to judge them on one start? Probably not. Again, that's maybe another thing, especially when they've all been, you know, there were 6 changes put in there, and but again, I suppose the standards we've got to expect to be winning these sort of football matches.
Was it not 6 changes we've done against Ross County in the was it the League Cup game? Was there not 6 changes then? And I think that might have made us. I think that might have had us all thinking, oh, you know, this is. You know, and then St Mirren, but hey ho.
No, I think that's a good point as well, to be honest with you, because the Ross County one you can contrast and compare. I just feel that there's no doubt in my mind that when it comes to the League Cup, I suppose it's knockout football, though, so you could say there's a different pressure because, you know, one slip up there and that's you out of that tournament. You know that we would all go tits up if we're out of tournament. But the flip side being, I do think the league brings a different degree of pressure. And I suppose the personnel that were chosen at Ross County, we still just played that gung-ho football. For some reason, we didn't do that at the weekend.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is due to personnel or mindset or the actual individuals themselves. We'll find out with Ange's teams going forward. But Kaiser's absolutely right. A little dose of reality can get the team back on the grind. You learn more from pain and defeat than you ever learn from easy victories. I think there's an element of truth in that. What I wouldn't want to go down the road is because we would become a meme very quickly, Johnny, or a video snippet, you know, is if we were saying, oh, we were happy we got beat. That would be me going full circle. And I'm not going to say that. But I think the positives that Kaiser's referring to are very valid because, yeah, you're right. It can be a reality check, but it can also be, you know, I don't want to feel like that again. That's what I hope they felt. I hope they felt like I just had to go on an international break in the back of defeat. I'm not feeling like that again, you know, and that's what you're hoping. Danny O'Malley's in. Brilliant to have you on the bus, mate. And he's saying we're going to smash Motherwell. Ange and the team will be now itching to smash the team. And again, the complexion changed very quickly of the league table at the weekend, Johnny. And Mark Kearney's always quick to remind us of that. The complexion can change very quick, which I totally understand. But do you know what as well? The complexion could change all over again. Come not this weekend, the weekend after, because they go to Tynecastle, just where you were talking about, Johnny. A team that was 69 domestic games unbeaten, got scalped 4-0 there. I know that was a completely different Hearts team, a completely different Celtic team. But the point still is, Tynecastle's got to be, in my opinion, the hardest away day in Scotland, bar their place. In fact, I don't even know. It's 50-50.
Well, let's put this way, Russell. I'm glad we're not going to Tynecastle to try and get back on the horse after a defeat at St Mirren.
You know
I'd
what,
much
mate?
rather have our fixture. That's not to say that Rangers won't win, but like you said, Tynecastle's not an easy place to go to.
It's not. No, it isn't. Fuck, it's far from it. I think it's very, very difficult place to go, and I think they've not shown any signs of improvement. I know. I mean, I watched. I was working on Saturday, so I had the pleasure of putting their game on His Goal in the background, and you know, I was working. If any of my bosses are working, watching, but like genuinely, like they were murdering, and I'm sure Bob McBob, if he's in the comments, he'll testify to that. It's not even being biased. They didn't play well, and I don't think they've got quite out of their form rut as of yet. Albeit when Celtic drop points, that can give your rivals a jolt, and maybe it will. Jerry Coyle says Hearts always bottle against them. That may well be the case, but I think like Johnny's saying is, give me Motherwell home when we come back from international duty over a trip to Tynecastle any day of the week, and that could be one of those weekends where you just see us pull away again. You know, you never know. You never know. I definitely think from a Celtic point of view, with no disrespect to Motherwell, we've got the right fixture to exercise the ghosts of, you know, St Mirren's
so.
Capital Digital Park.
So.
Aye, defo, mate. Anyway, it has been a positive news story though spinning around. Obviously, Celtic have, you know, released financial accounts and all that, Johnny. And I like the stuff, you know, football happens on the grassy bit, mate. That's what we like on the green stuff, you know. But football more and more now is becoming business orientated, and everyone wants to talk about in the summer recruitment, and then we all get told, you know, the technicalities as to why Celtic can't get a Vinicius in who went to it was Espanyol for under £4 million when we were all told we were getting quoted £7 million. And you know, we thought, well, Celtic should be able to push the boat out there. They're cash rich. Well, it turns out Celtic have spent a fair whack. £38.5 million has been spent by Celtic in 12 months under Ange. And it's unclear whether Jota's part of that because he joined on the 1st of July. So I think these accounts, he might have been actually, he might be in the next set, if that makes sense. So it could be around 44-45 million outlay that Ange has put in. Of course, you'll get negative headlines. And I know you want to talk about the media's perception of Celtic, and so do I to an extent as well, Johnny, later on. But one thing that you know they're trying to do with the headline grabbing is suggest under the radar that Ange has bought the league. We all know that. Now, the fascinating thing that you'll see, maybe I've read quite a few news articles on it before we came on tonight. It's just at the bottom of the article. Celtic also during this period sold Christopher Ayer, Odsonne Edouard, and Ryan Christie. Do you not think that's what makes up that 38 million? Celtic didn't just I don't fall for Ange has been back. I think one of the headlines I read said Ange has been Ange has been back 300% more than what his previous, the previous season was or whatever. And I'm like, well, it's not quite that though. You've got to, if you're going to sell key first team players like Eddie, Ryan Christie, and Chris Ayer, rake in the money that you do for them. It's like the only way for the club to progress is by reinvesting that in a first team that, let's be honest, as we always praise Ange for, needed a full rebuild, Johnny. And do you know what? I think in modern day football, 38.5 million, this is where Scottish football needs to move on. 38.5 million to rebuild and sign. How many players has he signed for that? 15, 16, more 16, than that?
Yeah.
For 38 million, that's an average of £2 million a player, and he's now in the Champions League. So what's the average player cost in the Champions League per team? 10, 15? I would guess so. I would guess so when you weigh up all the 30, 40 millions in there, combined with the likes of ourselves and one or two others that, like Shakhtar, that aren't spending money right now. But you think of all the money that's getting spent in football. 38.5 million to put out a vibrant, energetic, fantastic, show-stopping team like we have. I tried to ring off more fucking adjectives there and fucking ran out that quick.
You've done all right, to be fair, mate.
Did all right. Oh, cheers, mate. Cheers. Thanks for that. Right, we've just got that night there, actually. But I think to put all that together with 38 million quid, that you've generated, by the way, not because the boards went, oh, new manager will back him to the tilt. They have backed him, yes, but they backed it from player trading, vast majority of. And if there's been a surplus on that Ange just spent, then considering what he inherited, Johnny, I would like to think so. Don't, ladies and gentlemen, let this be fooled into Postecoglou bought the league.
Well, if you put it in a different perspective, I know you were talking Champions League teams there, but Nottingham Forest, who are just 30 or 40 miles along the road from where I live, they spent 40 million quid on some guy from the English Championship I've never even heard of. 40 million quid, that's what we spent on 15 players. So this just shows you it is buttons what we've been spending, really, in real terms. So it seems a lot of money for in Scotland, but in real terms, it's buttons.
Yeah, I agree. Johnny, this is the thing, and this is why we can't keep getting nosebleeds. We can't keep getting nosebleeds every time we talk about, see if Celtic would sign a player for 10 million in January. I wouldn't blink. Like, I would be excited. I would say it's a step in the right direction, but I wouldn't be, oh my freaking, whoa, £10 million. 10 million pounds, like, that happens in football. We need to if we're going to get in the rhythm, and that's what I want to see of us being a Champions League competitive side. No one is suggesting go win the Champions League. Why not, of course, but that would be lovely. But I want us in that group stage every year, competing in those top for those top two spots, getting to the last 16, letting us be allowed to, contest matches against the likes of Real Madrid in the last 16 in it, and to go to extra time. Remember we did that with Milan? We did that with Milan under Striker, and who was the other team? Was it Barcelona? I think it was Barcelona, and Barry Robson scored. Anyway, I digress. I've not even said Martin O'Neill yet. Well, now I have. But I'll talk about Stratton's team first. But I want to get back to seeing a wee bit of that, or even if we were to drop out the Champions League, have a team that could get to a final, well, win the final, of course, but get that far. That's what we're looking for. I mean, £38 million on paper might seem a lot, but I just think we all need to move on from thinking that. And we also need to give kudos to the manager because, as I say, when you look at the volume of players, someone could tell me in the comments how many there's been that Ange signed. It might actually be, Johnny. I think he signed 12. Now I think about it last summer.
Yeah.
I think he signed 6 or 7 this summer. You're looking at just under 20 players at 30
What about the January transfer window when he signed the 3 Hitati?
Fuck aye.
Maeda, O'Reilly, Ideguchi. Well, I don't know if we count Ideguchi because I think I've seen about half an hour of him against Alloa, but we must have signed about 20 players in that time.
Aye. I mean, then you start thinking 38.4 million, Ange. Fucking, I'll give you 100 million, mate, if you could do that, because what we also need to remember, and one of the things that we're not entirely sure of at this moment in time as of yet, is what we've actually now got on the park as assets, Johnny. That's another interesting question, because one of the factors is, and let's lose Jota as a key point. when we signed Jota, everyone in the comment, Brown Warrior, for example, I think was the one really pushing it. And I totally agreed with him. And agreed with a lot of other people who were kind of banging the same drum. Jota being able to be signed for £6.8 million banks us 20 million from the day that he eventually leaves. At least he's a player that we could probably sell, I think, in January or next summer at 20 million quid. So,
I just can't understand what was going on at Benfica with Jota, because Portuguese clubs, they tend to sell players that, to be honest with you, because I don't really pay much attention to them, you've never even heard of them, and English clubs are paying ridiculous amounts of money for them. You know, well over the the $6.5 million we paid for Jota. We could have done with Jota who was the team that Henry went to in Belgium, and they just bought him off us and flipped him straight over to somebody else and more than doubled their money. We could have done that. We could have signed him on whatever day of the week we signed him and sold him the next day for double. And by the time we do sell him, we'll be selling for treble what we paid for him. Without a doubt.
I guarantee it. And he's only one, by the way. He's just off the top of the head.
Yeah, we'll do the same with Kyogo. We could do the same with Kyogo. He's a little bit older, it has to be said, but you know, he's not that much older. 27, is he?
27.
We could sell. I mean, January. Those that are going to World Cup. No, Jota's not, but we've got a few players going to World Cup in that category, who after that World Cup might just be even more high profile, noticeable to the English Predators than they already are. And I think next summer's going to be. I think next summer's going to be a bit more worrying as far as who do we sell on, who do we keep, how much money do we make for. Because I think there'll be more people coming in for our Matt O'Reillys, for example, next summer than they were this summer.
Yeah, and I mean, you're absolutely right. And of course, there will be. We need to have contingency plans for that. And we also need to expect that, hopefully, as well, that if people are getting like fucking shiting themselves about 38.5 million being spent when we got the bones of 30 million for the 3 players that we sold. And that's not to mention, by the way, Frimpong left in the January window, obviously a different set of accounts. But that money wasn't spent that January. Remember, we brought in John Joe Kenny on loan to replace him. So that was another 9.9 million, apparently. The rumour is he cost, looking like a bargain now on a different note. But anyway, again, you look at all these, you're looking at the money that you're bringing in for these players. And we've got to know, say we sold 5 players next summer. Not that we want this to happen, but just say we did. I'm basing this on what the assets are on the pitch. I think we could get the meat and bones of, 100 million quid for 5 of our key players. Would anyone be like still expecting us just to spend 38.5 million then? No, you have to then bring that up, and then you're bringing in 70-80 million pounds, 90 million pounds of players. That's how you would grow it. This is all hypothetical. I am not saying this is going to happen. What I'm trying to say is, when we bring in 30 odd million pounds, then we have to expect to spend that 30 million pounds. I know it was a rebuild year, so we've overspent that 30 million. But if we're bringing in 30 million pounds, we should be expecting to spend the vast majority of that, because we've got revenue streams that go out with just player recruitment, Johnny. Prize money from the Champions League. It also said in the accounts, and I want your opinion on this too. I know I've cut in a wee bit there. Apparently from 2024, there's going to be a change in some sort of rights. I don't know if it's the image rights, the media rights. The media rights, I think, was the terminology that was used. And that should actually help increase our revenue from Champions League qualification. That's only from 24 onwards, less than 2 years. It's exciting times, mate, when you look at it like that.
Does that coincide with the increase of the teams involved in the Champions League as well? Because they're going to be increasing that in about 24. Is it 25? You know, you're going to be playing more games, aren't you? If you qualify for it, I know I've heard Phil talking about it on the show before. I think somebody said there's something like 10 games going to be played. Owen Wilson. That's a bit harsh. It's a bit harsh.
Fucking, I don't know whose nose is fucking worse, man. Bhoycie is a dead ringer for Pato. You need to cut this out. Peter Talk from the Monkeys. Wait, who's that? I know who the Monkeys are, but I couldn't tell you which one's which.
You haven't got. He was the guitarist.
Yeah. Fuck right off. What? You could. I'm not even. I was going to bring his photo up on the camera. I'm not even doing it. Pat, oh, that is a yellow card, big boy. It's all because his missus fancies me apparently, so he's trying to put her off. That's what he's doing. I can tell.
Do you think that's what it is?
Phil McGinley comes in. The
16
stat
format.
man.
I knew we could rely on Phil to come in there and tell us the answer there, like, you know.
That was a given.
So this media rights thing, getting back to the away from the Bhoycie lookalike competition. The media rights. So this is what? So what's this exactly going to be entailing?
It doesn't give much away, but it just says there will be from. I'll read it. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere. Give me 2 seconds. It was in one of the.
I know when you talk about some of these players with the transfers, they talk about the media rights and all the rest of it, what they get, percentage of what their name's used for. Is it something to do with that?
Well, no, they said UEFA announced a new Champions League format post 2024. There is an expectation that once implemented, this would lead to increased media rights, which would in turn benefit all participating clubs. So they're expecting more spondoolies. Do you know what I mean? Because Celtic, the one thing you know about them is they would not fucking declare they're expecting an increase in revenue, right? It's just not what they do. They try and play everything down. So if they think that they're getting more money, they're kind of telling you that there is more money coming down if we can ensure we keep qualifying for the big boys tournament. And that's what we've got to keep striving to do, Johnny, isn't it?
Oh, without doubt, that's where we need to be. But you know, we should have been working on that for the last 10 years, not just now. But that's another podcast.
Oh, fucking you'll drive me nuts talking about that. I mean, that's one of my favourite topics, I think, ranting about the last 10 years and failure to qualify. But I think it's class that now we're at that table. We've shown what we can do when we spend money. And again, as I've always said, it leads us on to talking about Ange now, the next part of the show, because the thing is with Postecoglou, right? See, when you actually think about that, 19, 20 players, whatever it may be, and the amount of hits, the strike rate he's got to players is phenomenal. If he's spending, what maybe including this summer, 50 million quid on 20 players, he's bringing in players at less than what, fucking 2.5 million a pop to compete and play the sort of football they are, and he's quadrupling their values at the same time. That does make him a person of interest to other clubs that are wanting a similar model that might have more funds. The latest link, Johnny, you couldn't even write it, could you? Could be to replace Brendan Rodgers, who left Celtic for Leicester City. I don't know. It's weird. I feel so much more relaxed now about this one than what I do the Brighton like. And that's, you know, Leicester should give us the fear a wee bit more than Brighton, because I think they come with a lot more clout. However, I also think Brendan Rodgers, who, yes, he went down there, won an FA Cup, and, you know, a prospective manager could look at Leicester and go, I want a bit of that. Yes, he finished 5th in the league, and he only in the last day missed out in the top 4. He could have had less than he should really have had less than the Champions League. But now it doesn't take long for a few bad results, bad start to the season, sitting at bottom, and your fans forget it, and you're public enemy number 1, and they want you out. And before you know it, you're sitting there on the scrap heap, and you're looking up at whatever the, you know, brilliant next manager of Celtic's doing. You're looking at the European nights, and you're sitting there going, all I've got to show for it was 8 months in the cutthroat English Premier League playing in front of 25,000 fans. You know, they can't even clap. They use those wee silly fucking plastic things. I mean, I just get the feeling that for Brendan Rodgers maybe to have made the Celtic job a more desirable one, perhaps for prospective candidates when he left, albeit we went for Neil Lennon, I do also think that his time at Leicester, because of the pathway it was Celtic direct to Leicester, might actually put Ange off taking that sort of road. I don't see him going to Leicester City.
You've said you were more worried about the Brighton one. I agree, because Leicester are not the model that Rodgers went for.
No.
When Rodgers went to Leicester, they were a sort of I don't know what the expression is, but they were a wannabe Ferrari. And now I think they'll settle for being a half decent one deal. Because since the owner was killed in the helicopter crash, obviously tragically, he was the one who was the driving force, and he was the one who was really bought. I think from what I can gather, he was the one who was really bought into Leicester, and he was ready. He would put money in for players. He would pay for supporters to have beers and coffees and whatever at the ground. He was pumping money in. He was Mr. Popular. I don't think the Sun's got the same same vibe towards it. And also, Leicester, their expenditure during the summer was what, 15 million? That's what they spent during the summer.
He's only brought in one player that cost money.
One player. And that was only after they sold that Fofana to Chelsea. Yeah, they got him for 70 million. Now, the way you talk, Russell, you want, if Celtic brought in 70 million quid for a player, you want 40 million quid of it spent on his replacement,
Definitely.
Well, they spent 15 million.
Yeah, that is downsizing like Celtic.
I think at one point, I'm sure I heard last year on the radio talking. At one point, Leicester, towards the end of last season, almost every player was going to be out of contract, or is it the end of this season? So many of the players are going to be out of contract, it's ridiculous, or they already were. I just really don't think. I think any man now with half a brain would look at that Leicester job and say, especially within a job like Celtic, would just say, fuck off. Not interested in that. I don't worry about Leicester. If Brendan Rodgers gets sacked tomorrow, and it wouldn't surprise me, I think they play Nottingham Forest this weekend.
Yeah.
And if they lose that game, he's gone. In fact, what they're talking about is the only thing that's holding up at the minute is if they sack him, they're due him 10 million quid. Now, when you consider they were quite happy to give us 9 million quid for Brendan and his team, 3 years ago?
Yep.
Now they're saying we can't afford to sack him at 10 million quid.
Yep.
So I really don't see Leicester as being an attractive option to Ange Postecoglou at all.
No, I totally agree. I mean, unless you would need to envisage that Leicester, well, literally, the only way would be, no, we just had lost all faith in him, so we've stocked some cash, and the next guy that comes in, once he decides to resign and his hands forced, the next guy we're going to totally back, but they would need to really try and sell it. I'm very relaxed about the Leicester rumour. I think the Brighton one gathered a wee bit of pace, and I don't think we were all panicking about it. I think we just thought, it's a club that would be a total downside. But the reality is, they're riding high. There's a pathway there. Potter's just left them to go to Chelsea. Managers are very wary of, the rungs up the ladder, suddenly
you see the pathway there, Russell. But it took him 4 years to climb that ladder from Brighton, going into Brighton to get into Chelsea. I don't know if Ange's got. I don't want a cheeky bastard but I mean he's 57, 58. He's not maybe got 4 years to get to the. He might be if he has ambitions to go to a Chelsea or somebody like that. Another 18 months, 2 years at Celtic, he's still only 60. But go to Brighton, have to start again, 4 years, makes him maybe that just a little bit more unattractive towards the other clubs. So I don't think he'll jump ship too quick. I'm not saying he wouldn't go, but I think he doesn't want a long pathway anymore because he's knocking on a bit.
Well, that's true.
Sorry, Ange, you're watching that's
definitely off the.
Just for the record, Ange, I am older than you.
I mean, yeah, that is fair. I mean, the thing is with managerial links now, I think we're very much now. We need to accept that the circus is now here. The circus is in town.
We're linked with every single manager's job that comes up.
Correct. That's it. Every vacancy now down south, we're going to need to just get used to it. And it'll be fun to ride in the English clubs that link with them, and then we just have to hope that, one of them doesn't come to fruition. But, I liked what he said in Australia, and he's been down in Australia recently, Johnny. He's already, the international break, and he's taking a wee bit of time out, still representing Celtic, of course. I think it's very much a work trip, if you like, albeit the business side of his Celtic duties, as opposed to taking the players there for some training in the sun.
A busman's holiday, Bhoycie. It's a busman's holiday.
That's a good terminology, mate. I like that. The busman's holiday, mate. That is what it is. So he's still wearing all the Celtic gear. I'm sure he's catching up with some family and friends as well, but he's doing the odd interview in the news, and they really do fawn over him. I mean, the good thing is as well, though, is he says, he's at the club of his dreams. I like that. I thought it was good to see him say that, and it sounded quite defiant. And I think when he's over there, he might. You see this with a lot of people that have been at Celtic in the past. or the present, but particularly when they've left Celtic and they maybe go into punditry, they get quite defensive of the club when they're speaking with English media and things like that, and they don't like, it being sort of talked down. And I think Ange's went back to Australia, and it's like, oh, you think I would just, move to the English Premier League's gonna, tickle me? Like, I'm at the club of my dreams. And I think there was a wee bit of defiance there, and I quite like that.
I do like the way he keeps reminding people he is at a big club. I'm already at a big club, mate. And when he says that, mate, on the Australian interviews, I wonder if he means it the same way as he does to the Scottish press when he says, mate,
Yes, I don't know. But the Sydney Cup, I mean, we're talking about accounts and all that boring stuff there, Johnny, but, the Sydney Cup's only a couple of months around the corner. We're going to be playing Everton, a couple of Australian sides, and you know what? Apparently we're going to get another £6 million for that as well, which isn't bad, and that's why these PR trips are so crucial, because we need to sell out the grounds. I've got the feeling Ange will sell everyone out. He is absolutely adored from what you're seeing. It's like, it's mad. They all just love him. And
the question is, would we have got £6 million if Ange wasn't the manager?
No, I don't. The tournament. I think the tournament was only invented for Ange.
It's homecoming, wasn't it?
I don't think the Sydney Cup exists. Yeah, Ange's homecoming tour. Oh, that stung, didn't it?
Just a bit.
Ange's homecoming tour, and the guests are Rangers.
Yeah.
No.
It's
brilliant.
Support act.
But it was even the fact that it was getting called that, though. Like, the media picked up it. They were going, Rangers take part in Ange's homecoming tournament. I thought, oh fuck, that's absolutely priceless. No one of their fans are going mental. You know what I mean? Like, they were absolutely raging. We've settled for the Sydney Cup now. We'll call it the Sydney Cup. But Ange's down there doing his thing. I don't know what the script is with the players that aren't on international duty. Again, I'll come to the viewers. I mean, do we know what the players are doing? I mean, the likes of Jota, did they get a bit of time off? Did they fuck off to Portugal for a few days? Or are they doing light training at Lennoxtown with the
I would guess, and it is only a guess, I would guess they're in it training.
No?
As a guess. I don't. Well, they might be given a couple of days off.
Yeah. I mean, you would think so.
That's training class.
Fucking unreal. David Kelly comes in. Good to have you on the bus, David. The Sydney Cup is a beauty. It costs Rangers millions for bailing and nets us $6 million for a few kickabouts of the reserves and the kids. It's fun.
That's a good point. How much did it cost them to bail out of that?
I think Dave King was quoting something like he would pay the £3 million get out. He was saying that. So I mean, not that you can trust the word that comes out of his mouth.
No.
And yeah, I think there would have definitely been some sort of severance payoff for it, because it was out there.
Had they actually signed contracts? I think they had, hadn't they?
Yeah, it was all announced.
So they reach a contract, yeah. Well,
it's mad that, like, and then I mean, where that Brian Moore, he says it was $3.5 million. I mean, if they've paid $3.5 million just to get out it, fucking. And then they started putting up like, this is the old firm and that. I'm like, they've all lost the plot. Like, remember that like that arch saying this is the old firm. I'm like, what? I just bizarre that. But yeah, I mean, it's something that at least gives us a couple of post-match pitches during the World Cup to do. And we will try to be still giving you shows. I know there'll be people wanting to know, how the fuck's the bus going to run with yet another break from the football? I mean, we've had a few now. But we'll manage. I think with the Ange homecoming tour, we'll get
we'll just have to go to a Sunday service, I'm afraid, Bhoycie. That's what we do in the bus industry. Sunday service, like, you know. If we get Phil on one of his nostalgias, that'll take up 3 or 4 hours for you. There you go. Right.
They're too good, man. Too good. I think Phil will be back tomorrow. I think.
Yeah. So am I.
Phil, is it Lubo tomorrow?
Yeah.
Lubo in focus, bro. Oh, you're doing tomorrow? Good man.
I'm on with him tomorrow. Me and Liam, yeah.
That's class. I enjoyed the last couple of weeks doing it. So, brilliant to see his nostalgia's doing good, and he's still saying there's some Euros and World Cups out there still to be covered to get the nostalgia treatment during the World Cup. Always thinking, Phil.
And
Always.
he's not even done the centenary season yet. I keep going on him. You've got to do the centenary season.
Yeah. That'll just take a wee bit of homework from those who are in there. But you're right, it has to be done. I agree, and I'm sure Phil is the man to do it. David Kelly, that's a great point. The old firm banners, arches, that all made us money as well. Because remember, we keep the copyright on the term old firm. So when they use it, they pay us. That's mad. Bob McBob says the timing of Celtic's announcement of the Sydney tournament. Angie's homecoming tour, if you don't mind, Bob. He says the timing was suspect. I agree. I remember saying it on the bus. I went, they have definitely done that to cause mischief. 100%. Because what's the one thing you want if you're in a title race is fans in the club, they're their own fans in their own club at war. We've seen how effective it was with us the year before. So yeah, we definitely stirred the pot, Bob. I do not deny that, mate, whatsoever. Scott House showing a lot of love for nostalgia. Aye. What was going to say? What the fuck else was I going to talk about? We're going to talk about Mr. Souness. He's obviously on Talk Sport now as a regular on a Monday. Very interesting to listen. I wanted to hear their thoughts this morning on their initial reaction as well for Jim White and Simon Jordan about the booing of the minute silence from Scotland fans last night. Whether people think it's right, whether people think it's wrong, fine. I think it's free speech. It's up to people to do what they want, right? Is it particularly respectful? No. Do people feel that there was respect given to them during their life? Probably not as well. Do you know what I mean? But the one thing I would say is, you look at the outcry. Kay Burley on Sky News playing or showing photos of Celtic at Ross County, describing it as a Champions League game, was very interesting. To an SNP MP and saying, do you condemn it and all that? They hate the royal family, clap their hands. Well, I want to see what the outcry is going to be from the likes of Super Sally and all that about the Scotland fans, because it was to a man near enough last night, the booing of it. Suddenly it just feels that Celtic, yeah, their fans, they're there to be scrutinised, but I want consistency across the board, Johnny. And if you want to pan Celtic what they did because you're upset about it, that's your gift to do that. But you've got to be consistent and then call it out to the same levels. And I'm not seeing the same outcry with the Scotland fans.
Well, I can tell you now, Russell, I didn't see all of the Scotland game last night. I certainly didn't see the start of it, and I didn't, with the booing and all that. And I've not heard a fucking peep down here. I mean, for them that don't know, I live in Lincoln, and I have not heard a thing on any of the media down here about yesterday, the Scotland game. So I don't know whether they booed it. You're saying that they did. I don't know whether they booed it, or whether it was a partial boo, full boo. I've got no fucking idea.
It was rife. Nothing. It was rife, Johnny.
And that's more than 24 hours after the event, and I've heard nothing. But yeah. On Tuesday, I mean, I used to listen to Talk Sport a lot. Don't listen to it so much nowadays. But I did have it on the card, just on my way home from work. Finished work yesterday, on Tuesday at 12 o'clock. And they were just starting to talk about it. And I could not fucking believe the hard neck of Souness, what he was saying. I mean, when he called us, what was it, the ugly face of Scottish football?
Yeah,
and Jim White's going on about they've demanded, well, not demanded, but they've been on the phone to Celtic twice to try and get a comment from them, saying they should be making a comment. Well, why the fuck should they be making a comment? I don't hear any comments every Monday morning about the sectarian bile that gets thrown about.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that there aren't any Celtic supporters that are involved in sectarian and all the rest of it. I mean, I'm not that fucking naive.
No.
But when you hear it, the up to your knees in Fenian blood and all the rest of it, and all the other things, and as I said, I'm not saying Celtics are innocent, but we don't hear any demands of statements should be made by the club to do this. And if anybody wants to really have this put into perspective and hear a really good, sensible put down comment or put through comment, just listen to Mark Kearney from Sunday.
Yeah.
Because he was absolutely fucking bang on the nail. The people that were actually condemning us or condemning the supporters, and don't get me wrong, I thought it was quite clever with the minutes applause and if you hate the royal family, clap your hands, because they knew everybody was clapping hands. I thought it was quite witty. But listen to Mark Kearney and what he said, and the level of people that were getting wired into the Celtic supporters that were involved at the game on Saturday, and you just look at the pond life that it was.
Yeah,
because that's what it was, pond life.
Yep. I think you're spot on, Johnny. I mean, the thing is, this isn't something that I'm always that keen on dwelling, like politics and all that shit, right? But people have beliefs and people have every right to sort of express their views. As far as I was aware, I thought freedom of speech was the thing. Now, if not, and people are taking umbrage to it, again, as I say, I think it's their gift to scrutinise it. But when you're picking and choosing what parts of the argument you want to use, and you're picking and choosing who it is you want to go for, and that's what they do. Celtic fans have made the decision to do what they do. They have obviously set themselves up there. They've put a target on their back. They all knew that. That was their gift to still carry on doing what they did, knowing fine well what the reaction would be. They've went ahead with it. That's fine. They have went after it, but you're not seeing consistency across the board. And that's where my frustration gets. Now, I don't like always saying there's a paranoia and we've got to be, everyone's out to get us. But you cannot deny what's in front of your eyes, Johnny, or what's coming through your ears. As you say, you didn't watch a game last night. You didn't even know there was booing of the minute silence last night.
No, I've heard nothing.
Where is it your base, just for the viewers who won't know?
I live in Lincoln.
Right. So you live in Lincoln, Johnny. You didn't know the minute silence in memory of the Queen was booed by the vast majority of Scotland fans last night.
No.
And
I was listening to Talk Sport this morning from about just after 6 o'clock to between 6 and 8, because Alan Brazil's on at that time. I quite like Alan Brazil. But I never heard anything about it. Never heard any mention at all about it.
So
you mentioned it tonight was the first I actually knew of it.
But let's flip it then. Let's flip it. How much media coverage have you heard in Lincoln about Celtic fans talking about, if you hate the royal family, clap your hands?
Oh, well, same as you. I've heard it as much as you have.
And that's the difference. That's the fucking difference. And
I've heard as much as you have on that respect on mainstream news, Sky News, whatever, Sky Sports, the radio, social media, podcasts. The Garden last night, I've heard absolutely fuck all.
Now that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for consistency. We're looking for, if you want to give Celtic a raw deal, or you have two umbrage to what Celtic fans have done, okay. But then how come other clubs fans or even our national teams fans don't get that same level of criticism, don't get that same level of scrutiny, don't get throwaway terms like Souness is making about, I think it was the unacceptable face of Scottish football now. He was actually trying to say we're going to lose now our commercial deals over it. And then I think it was one of the two of them said, they won't lose the commercial deals. And
Simon Jordan.
And he said, well, I think the next one, they'll struggle to get another one after this one. I think people are going, what planet are you on? And then, of course, Jordan says, well, it wasn't that. I mean, Rangers get commercial deals now, and it wasn't so long ago they were doing illegal transfer deals. And he starts going into EBT land. And Souness shites himself. And no wonder.
I think Souness said, well, they weren't found guilty of that, were they? I think you find the fuck you are.
And they weren't found guilty of it. He said, oh, come on now. Everyone knows what happened. Let's be clear here as well with Souness. Souness, literally, his alibi is he was paid £35,000 from Rangers to scout in Europe. It's just the timeline doesn't quite add up because he was Blackburn Rovers manager at the time.
Yeah. Could you imagine if Ange Postecoglou was doing scouting for Liverpool while he was manager of Celtic? We'd go fucking bananas.
And it's because he's not done it, though. Because he's not done it.
But the thing is, though, Ross, it's not just about, it wasn't just Celtic supporters, not even just Scottish club supporters. There's been supporters down in England who've booed, not to the same vociferousness. Yeah, but I've got a mate, he's a Liverpool supporter, and he said to me, I'm fucking shiting it because we're going to, because their reputation, they don't have any great love for the royal family either from the Liverpool area. And he said, he was shiting it. He said, but it actually wasn't that bad. I was actually quite relieved it wasn't that. Because not that he was bothered one with the other, it was just the publicity it was going to bring to the club. Mm-hmm. That's what he was That's what he was. He said he was quite, and he did say to me, he sent me a text message later, said, you gave them it fucking tight, he said, didn't you? He said, but in fairness, you already told me that. I'd actually said to him, they'll have fucking fireworks out, never mind anything else. You know, big party time. But listen, I mean, I've got to say, I mean, I've got no feelings one way or the other regarding the royal family. You know, I'm not pro or anti. I just think they're a spent institute. And I'm not a believer in inherited power, because inherited power is dangerous.
Of course.
Just because my great-great-grandfather might have been great at something doesn't mean I'm going to be fucking good at it. But there you go.
That's true.
So, so that was it. So, I mean, I really didn't know whether to fucking laugh, cry, or tear the stereo out of my car on Tuesday when I heard Soonest going about that. But I thought, since I'm trading the car in, I don't want to devalue it any, but I'll just leave the radio where it fucking is.
But yeah, I just feel like right now, Celtic's the one getting the raw deal here. It's almost like it's been Celtic fans and only Celtic fans that have issues over the last 2 weeks. And I don't think that's fair. I think there'll be many Celtic fans, for example, who had no issue with it. And maybe I'm wrong, because I bet there is some out there. I also think as well, there's a huge population of other, you know, Scots and other people in England as well, certain communities in England that will be, you know, anti-monarchy and all that shit as well. So for us to be the ones that they go after so much really frustrates me. I mean, I've seen that Kay Burley thing today with Ian Blackford, and, you know, it's a fucking standard. You know what annoyed me the most? Ross County's ground. I mean, like, I don't know. I think more folk get on the Bhoycie bus than fucking can sit in a stand at Ross County. How can you be describing that as fucking Champions League game? I'm like, that's just not even paying attention. And the thing was, I mean, the thing is at Ross County, it was funny as well. I mean, it was just completely being two steps ahead. That's what they did. It was 2 steps ahead. It was sharp darts. There's no even swearies in that, you know, and they're hounded for it by the likes of Sky News and stuff. And it's like, well, okay, that's fine. What about booing a minute's silence? No matter who the minute silence for, it's obviously significant if there's a minute silence for that person. Full National Stadium booing it. No mention for Johnny Logue in Lincoln. So Celtic are definitely a bit of a public enemy number one for a lot of sports writers, a lot of sports fans, a lot of the media, a lot of people in general. I don't need to tell you what the reason for that is. We can all work that out ourselves. Johnny, no game for a wee while yet. Me and Phil are going to be on maybe over the weekend, maybe. We'll see how I'm for time. Maybe over the weekend we'll be covering the Predictor League, because obviously we've got that running as well. We'll be talking about the fortunes of the rest of the SPFL and get a wee catch up on how the league's playing out, as well as obviously doing it all from a Celtic prism. We'll do that at some point, either over the weekend or into next week. And also, obviously, as I say, Nostalgia back tomorrow. Will I do a show? I might do a wee solo show on Saturday night, or a couple of beers. You never know, mate. I like picking everyone up sometimes. If I'm not out, I will happily do that. Johnny, this has been the T.N.F. It has been a pleasure having you on tonight, mate. 116 likes. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit share, and all that good stuff. Good night, guys. And here's what's his name? Oh yeah, Chris Sutton.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.